Hi everyone, this is Sophie Lumbad, and in this video, I'll show you how to perform basic research. But first, let me share with you the learning objectives. Number 1 is to perform basic research by answering some guide questions. Number 2 is to differentiate primary from secondary sources of data. Number 3 is to determine the factors to consider in choosing sources. And number 4 is to demonstrate how to avoid plagiarizing and giving strong claims. So let's start. There are some guide questions to answer when performing basic research. Number 1, what do you want to learn? What do you want to find out? What do you want to discover? In this step, you should develop and identify your topic. For example, the topic that crossed my mind is about online learning. I'd like to discover on how to be an effective online learner. Moving forward, the second question to answer is, who or where will you gather data from? Will it be from random people in your neighborhood? Will it be from politicians or officials in your community? Will it be from some students, teachers, or administrators of a school? How about from health workers in a hospital? Or from business people or employees of a company? For my research, I choose to gather data from grade 9 students of ABC School, since my topic is about online learners. The third question is, how will you gather data that you need? We can gather data by choosing from one of these sources of data. First, from primary sources, by conducting an interview, whether face-to-face or online interview. Another thing is by administering a survey using survey forms or apps like Google Forms. You can also gather data through experimentation to make a discovery, test a hypothesis, or demonstrate a known fact. You can also gather data by observing. You can conduct a naturalistic observation by observing people's behavior in the environment. You can also conduct a participant observation, whereby the researcher becomes an active participant in the target group or situation. Or you can conduct a structured observation by making careful observations of one or more specific behaviors in a particular setting. Lastly, you can gather data by conducting a case study. It is an in-depth examination of an individual that are sometimes completed on a social units like a cult, and also on events like a natural disaster. So those are the things that we can do to get primary data. Moreover, you can get data from secondary sources like books from Google Books, unpublished theses or dissertations from school libraries, journal articles from online sources like Google Scholars, Microsoft Academics, ResearchGate, and others. You can also use news articles from Google News or from other online news websites. Speaking of websites, you can also visit the website or webpage of your target institution or company. And lastly, you can get data from videos found on YouTube. So those are the sources that you can use if you need secondary data. By the way, you have to consider these factors in choosing sources: reliability, recency, relevance, credibility, and also refrain from using Wikipedia, although it is a good starting point when making a research. Now for my research on how to be an effective online learner, I plan to conduct an online interview among some grade 9 students, or maybe administer a survey using Google Forms, so I can gather primary data from more students. Then in order for me to learn more about my chosen topic, I'll research about online learning from secondary sources like books, theses, and journal articles. The fourth question to answer when performing basic research is, what will you ask to gather data that you need? You have to ask specific questions that will help you gather data that you need. Since I'll be conducting an interview or I'll be administering a survey among my target participants, these are some questions that I'd like to ask. Number 1. How much time do you spend studying online? Number 2. What type of task do you usually struggle with? Number 3. How long does it take you to finish your task? Number 4. What or who keeps you motivated to study online? And number 5. What or who usually distracts you when studying online? The fifth question to answer when performing basic research is, how will you go over with the data that you have gathered? How will you analyze your data? Will you create a graph to interpret your data? Or will you present it in a table or in paragraphs? How about applying a statistical treatment to analyze further your gathered data? In my research, I'm planning to analyze the responses of my target participants by presenting the results in a graph or in a table. Finally, we have to answer the most important question. What did you find out? After researching about your chosen topic, what is your discovery? What did you learn? Remember, when discussing about what you have found out, we need to avoid plagiarizing and giving strong claims by, number 1, using APA style or the American Psychological Association format for giving credit to others for their contribution to your work. And this is through parenthetical in-text citation. A citation to original sources appear in your text. When stating an idea which is not originally from you, include the author's last name followed by the year of publication inside the parentheses. If you will write a direct quotation, you have to add the page number 2. You can also avoid plagiarism by creating a reference list, which is often alphabetized and is found at the last part of your research paper or work. For my research, this will be my reference list. So as you can see, they are alphabetized. Then, every entry follows a specific format. The first entry in my reference list is an unpublished thesis. It starts with the author's last name, followed by the initial of his given name. Inside the parenthesis is the publication date. Then, thesis title in sentence case, italicized. Followed by the degree type of thesis or dissertation inside the parenthesis. Then the institution name, followed by its location. As you can see from the second line down to the last, they are indented. The second entry in my reference list is a book. Since it has 2 authors, there's an ampersand in between of the names of the authors. Then, publication date inside the parenthesis, followed by the book title in sentence case italicized. Next is publication city, then the publisher. The last entry in my reference list is from a journal. Same as the others, it starts with the author's last name, then the initial of his given name, followed by publication date in the parenthesis, then article title in sentence case, normal, after which is the journal title, italicized, followed by the volume number, italicized. Inside the parenthesis is the issue number, normal. Then page numbers, followed by the journal DOI or URL. So that's how we present a reference list. Another way to avoid plagiarism is by paraphrasing. For example, I'll be using this discussion from the study of Abramenga. Instead of simply copying then including his statements in my research, I'll paraphrase it and present it this way. In his paper, Abramenga 2015 described how positive an online learner is towards his studies. He exhibits enthusiasm to learn more, efficiency to perform his task, and confidence that there are answers to his questions. Through this, I was able to present his ideas based on how I understood his discussion. Finally, to avoid giving strong claims, use hedging devices. Hedging devices are words or phrases used to make claims be implied cautiously and tentatively. Words or phrases used in hedging are modal auxiliary verbs like can, could, may, might, would. Other modal verbs like appear, look, seem, tend. Probability adjectives such as likely, possible, probable, unlikely. Probability adverbs like perhaps, possibly, probably, presumably. And also frequency adverbs such as generally, usually, often, occasionally, seldom. So that's how we perform basic research. I hope you can apply those tips on your own research. Thanks for watching.